Hello everybody, welcome back to another One Leeds video. What have you got on there, Connor? Yes, it's a Georgie says let's go top. We've got your hoodies, we've got t-shirts, we've got jumpers, anything you want. Links in the description below. I've collabed with Back4 and it's definitely well worth checking out the merch. Really good quality, everybody, and I'm very proud of it. Make sure you hit the link in the description below if you want to cop some new Leeds United merch. As well, slap a like on the video, comment, let me know your thoughts on what is going on at Leeds United at this moment in time. We've got a fair few things to talk about today. We've got Hull City, we've got some players who Leeds United fans and listen, the online media as well are discussing at Leeds United going back in for. We're speaking as well about a little bit of a Premier League dilemma when it comes to some of these individuals, but also I want to touch, as I've just mentioned earlier on, the strategic component leading into the Hull City game. So let's get into it. Let's get into the Hull City game to start off with. Leeds are going into a game tomorrow, which is huge. It's another massive game. Why is it bigger now? Well, because Leeds have obviously dropped points the other night, which wasn't great. Let's be brutally honest. It's not ideal, but in the circumstance, with Leeds having 6 players available over the international break, a 2-2 draw and Liam Cooper and Sam Byram in the back line starting off, it's probably a good result. I think the beauty of it is we saw toward the back end what Leeds United can be like. Once again, with Ethan Ampadu back there and a little bit more of a sort of regular defence, even with sort of Sam Byram involved. And yeah, hopefully we're going to have Gruev back tomorrow. I don't massively think having Gruev there is going to make a huge difference. I think having Firpo in there, I think having Matteo Joseph in there as well. No slight on Pat Bamford, as I keep saying, but would be a really, really good option for Leeds United, to be quite honest with you. I think that is it's a sharper option, and I just absolutely loved, and I'll mention this time and time and time again, the option that Matteo gave us with that back line. They, for the first time against Watford, and I know it's all about game states, I know different teams play different ways and all that sort of stuff, but I just think Joseph is a really, really good option to just play the ball behind that defence, which I think enables our defenders to have a different option on the ball as well. I love Pat, and he is off the shoulder a lot, but I don't think he gives you that sharpness which enables the defender or the midfielder to pass the ball just between the left back or the centre back. I think Pat's always there for that option, but can he get to the ball like Matteo Joseph can get to the ball? Can he beat a defender over 5 yards like Matteo Joseph can? I don't think so. Love Pat Bamford. I would have him definitely involved in this game, but I would also be very, very interested in a bit of a shake-up. I think Matteo Joseph gives you such an upside, and you guys know that with me. But if Gruev is back, you obviously go to what you know. I think right now, especially at this stage of the season, which is quite ironic when I'm talking about putting Matteo Joseph in there, but as I've mentioned, the upside and the downside, I think it's probably more upside when it comes to Joseph at the minute over Bamford. Gruev and Kamara, there's probably more of an upside there because you get an Ampadu at the back, and who else would you have at the back? Is it Liam Cooper after the other day? Don't think so. Cresswell's not going to be involved. So you're going to have someone like Ethan Ampadu at the back. And I think the fan opinion and the general opinion is that he's much better at centre-back than he is central midfield. I don't agree with that. However, it's going to take him a while to get back in my opinion, to that central midfield spot and feel comfortable, not feel rusty, and, be sort of like a real key component for Leeds United in there going forward, potentially in the Premier League if Leeds are there, touch wood. So overall, I think it's going to be a bit of a mixed Leeds team again. I wonder what's going to happen with Connor Roberts. There's a lot of rumours that he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. So there's heavy rumours that he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. That is a big problem because Willie was in form, 7 goals, was flying, and of course international duty causes more problems for Leeds United than not, and it sparked us out. I do feel if we had that full team going down to Watford, a full Leeds United side would have done well against that Watford side. But shout out to them and their attacking sort of trio who were brilliant on the night, you have to say. So sometimes teams are just good. You get out with a point, you move on, and that's where Leeds are at right now. Hull's going to be a different game. It's going to be a difficult game, but I do think to myself, I wonder how they're going to play, because if they sit in sort of like a low to mid block, they're going to struggle. With Ellen Road behind us, and the fact that we need a win, I think when we've had a lot of clutch moments this season, And I think when we've needed that win, we've shown up and we've got that win. And our home record is the best in the division. I do think it'll be a tough game, but I also think that we should have more than enough. I think the counter-attack worries me a little bit, but if Leeds are to dominate possession completely and almost take Hull's soul away in terms of just not being able to get hold of the ball, teams are coming to our road at some points and Leeds are having 70 to 80% possession through the 90. That really grates on a team. You're trying to keep your shape, you're trying to keep it solid, you're trying to keep that focus and concentration when the opposition have the ball. And I think naturally that's really, really difficult for an opponent. So if Leeds are able to break down their opponent by doing that and by taking away that focus and concentration and psychologically impacting Hull City, so they're having to move over as a unit consistently. No one can move out of that shape. If they are to sit in that low to mid block, that's something that Liam Rossini's got to focus on, making sure they're completely disciplined. Probably coming to get a point or trying to snatch away something on the counter attack. If they come to play against Leeds, which Hull have done this season against some of the top sides, if they come to play, that's going to be a big problem. That's going to be a big problem. I'm sort of seeing what they're going to be like. They were like, I felt more of a mid-block against Southampton away when they got the 2-1 win. But I think right now, how Leeds are coached, it's going to be much more conducive for us if they're coming to play against us. And we've seen that this season. We've seen that even with top of the division Ipswich Town, when they've come to play against Leeds United, when teams have come to try and play at Ellen Road, it's been rare. Teams have done it, but when they have, they've been popped off the park. Swansea tried to do it. Swansea were probably the closest to doing it at Ellen Road. For 45 minutes, they were the better team and they were playing good football, and Leeds was struggling to close that space and almost just recover the ball in good phases for us. So overall, I think that that's going to be an interesting way of looking at the game. I think Leeds are going to obviously have Gurev back, Robertson and Willie. It looks like that's not going to happen. But overall, how does Liam Rossini shape up for this one? And do Leeds have the tools to beat them? I think so. I think once again, I've mentioned Matteo Joseph. I've mentioned not changing it too much, but I do love the option of Jayden Anthony. I can't get that out of my head. I think he's such a lovely football player. I talk about balance quite a lot, and I think Jayden Anthony, for a bigger lad, has got that as well. And I just like him. I like him off the left. I like him off the right. And I think he's a good option, a really, really good option. And Dan James the other night was a very Dan James of old performance, wasn't it? Where you just thinking to yourself, that quality in that position. There's a couple of times where Leeds actually got beyond their midfield, which I think they did really well in midfield. A couple of times we got beyond that, the ball got to Dan James and he fluffed his lines a little bit. Now, in those situations when you're not playing that well and you're not having many opportunities in that first 60, 65 minutes, you've got to be critical. You've got to be almost clinical and ruthless when you go forward. Dan, it's the inconsistency you get with him sometimes. And this season, he's been very consistent, to be fair to him. But the other night was just an example of maybe old Dan James. If you get to that point, let's have a good head on you. Let's put the ball into a dangerous area. Let's have a strike, which is going to trouble the keeper. And it was almost sort of like compiled, in my opinion, by him taking a corner at a really good point for Leeds when we needed to alleviate a little bit of pressure, and the ball went out for a goal kick before it even got into the box. It wasn't a great performance from him the other night. And you do wonder whether or not Daniel Farke will potentially look at Jayden Anthony, who I do think technically is a better footballer than Dan James. It's just Dan's in form and has been given more of a chance. Now, moving on to a few other bits as well. But yeah, I am going to go with the 2-1 Leeds win tomorrow. Everybody let me know your score predictions in the section below. But moving on to other things, I'm seeing this a lot, and it's, Calvin Phillips is going to be Leeds' first signing when we get back up to the Premier League. There's a few outlets reporting it. I don't believe that, but 30 million quid. Listen, City aren't going to let him go for anything less than that. They bought him for 42. We know with Man City, they do sort of rack up those prices and get a better value back for the player. But I guess the ultimate conversation here is he worth it? And for me, he's just absolutely not. And there seems to be a real rhetoric with some fans that he deserves a chance at Leeds. Come home or send him abroad. What? Why? Why are we involved in this conversation with Calvin Phillips? Why? What is this constant need to get a player back who's constantly out of form, who's mentally really struggling, and in his entire career has had one good spell under Marcelo Bielsa? That's not to take anything away from him. The Euros, he was decent. I thought he was okay. Okay, in 2020, that was where he was all right. But as an individual, I feel really sorry for him at the minute. He's mentally struggling. If you don't know, he did flip off a West Ham fan the other day, which it does make you think, wow, he's maybe not in a good space at the minute. He's had a horror show of a start for West Ham. His career at Man City has just been a complete flop. He was about 7th choice central midfielder behind about 4 centre-backs. So I just don't get it. I don't get this need. For me, we're in a new era now, and we're at a new phase with Daniel Farke. Calvin Phillips was a product of Marcelo Bielsa. That's why he was so good. He had the best coach ever, arguably, making him a better player. He had a unique role at Leeds United, which hasn't been replicated anywhere else and won't be replicated anywhere else. It was magic in a bottle at one moment in time, which sort of elevated so many players' careers. It wasn't just Calvin Phillips, it was Luke Ayling, it was Liam Cooper, it was Pascal Strout, it was Jack Harrison. So it was Pat Bamford when he got 17 goals in the Premier League. This was all, you've got to give credit to the players, but Marcelo Bielsa was the genius behind all this. Now, we'll move on to as well Jack Harrison. Jack Harrison at this moment in time is having a shocker at Everton, and it was always the exact same at Leeds United, where he'd go through these hot and cold phases. I'd say this 3-4 years ago and get absolutely blasted by fans for being disrespectful to Jack Harrison. It was just how he was and how he is, and him going to Everton has proven this, but there is just this weird need as well. I'd give Jack another chance. Why? Why would we give Jack another chance? He's not good enough. He was never good enough. As I say, he was lightning in a bottle with Marcelo Bielsa. But a lot of these players won't go on to do anything, in my opinion, after Marcelo Bielsa. And that was because he was such a genius, Marcelo, at getting the best out of some of these players. And I think Calvin and Jack fall into that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Really interested to hear what you think of Calvin Phillips, Jack Harrison here. Would you have them back? Would you get Jack back up after his loan? Would you not want to sell him on? Would you buy Calvin Phillips for 30 million? I'm really interested to hear what you think. Check out the merch, link in the description below. Check out SofaScore for your full preview of Hull already. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you in a bit.